Professor Wang Xiaopei from Peking University Cancer Hospital. I had to give a brief introduction. Admire because I also love working out. Has very rich work experience. Actually low-key. I will no longer introduce her position. Autologous transplants for the past 20 or 30 years, so she has rich experience. Explain the big data of autologous transplantation. For the introduction, and thanks to Professors Hu Liang, Ding, and Zhang Wei for co-hosting this session. Autologous transplantation team since its establishment last year. Basement. Produce the big data on autologous blood-loss liver transplantation in China. Plant Working Group was established last June 6. Conduct a preliminary statistical analysis of autologous blood-stealing liver transplants nationwide in 2021. Collected synchronously. Before February this year, 21 autologous transplant cases reported by 211 centers across 29 provinces and cities nationwide. 29211521. Compared to 2020, 2,000 cases. Initiative for our more than 200 hospital centers, 200. Ma June in June. Hard work. In our region, the eastern region still has a relatively high population. 1,000 cases are relatively less frequent, which may be related to the distribution of large medical centers in our hospital. Regions, Beijing still has a relatively high proportion of cases. With larger populations, Shandong and Hunan, in order. Others also have relatively high numbers of cases. When I tried it out. Sorry, just a sudden. All right. Autologous treatment capabilities of our various centers. Exceeded 100, and 24 cases ranged from 51 to 100, 1005, 5110024. 50 to 21 cases, and 61 had 20 to 10 cases, 502151201061. With fewer than 10 cases. 10 centers do around 50 cases, 50. Why do some of our centers do less? Case went to another center, and some lymphoma patients were first treated in the hematology department. Are large. This is on hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. The limitations of the transplant repository may apply more to autologous transplants, resulting in fewer cases. On this aspect. The capability, there is still potential for improvement in the future. These are not the indications themselves. Diseases selected in our transplant cases. Portion, with lymphoma and multiple myeloma accounting for most cases. Aplastic syndromes and paraproteinemias are mostly diseases of the intestinal cells. Neuroblastomas and other cases. Tumors. 7% of those performing transplants on the front lines, 86.7%. It means performing it after the recurrence has occurred. Ratio 13%. Years, which is the optimal age for transplantation. 51. roughly slightly higher for males than females. Have about 3,000 cases of males, 3,000. For women, which is roughly the same ratio as the previous one. 2,200. The largest age range. 60. They accounted for 81.4% of our more than 5,000 cases. 186050081.4%. Process in our treatment. Age at onset and number of cases. Stage with the highest incidence rate. Most people have medical insurance and can afford autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation relatively well. So the number of cases in this area is still quite high. Majority. 166 cases in remission before transplantation, 3,366%, which aligns with our conventional concept. In the CR state, 64% CR. Stem cell transplantation yields the best results. Cases were conducted under PR status. 30% PR. Chemotherapy combined with autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation for consolidation under very good partial remission. Enhance the efficacy of conventional treatments. In PD and SD states, PDSD. Data in the future. Comes and see if autologous transplantation is performed in this condition. Meaningless to us. No other option, performing autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation in this state. Transplant status. Some of our centers have also conducted this research. CR mode, its best, CR. Treatment, if a very good PR can be achieved, PR. Hematopoietic stem cell transplantation is performed, and for certain types of lymphoma. And treatment, and then achieving CR is equal to PR1, and its efficacy should be better than when CR2 is used. PR1 CR2 not have particularly large volumes. Also conduct further analysis using big data. Stem cell count. The majority of CD34 positive cells at the conventional 2.0 times 10/kg body weight ratio make up the vast majority. 2.0 times 10/CD34. Patients did not reach the level of 2.0 times 10/kg body weight, 10% 2.0 times 10/. Fully underwent autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. We actually drew on the experience of our older autologous transplant specialists. Test CD34 positive cells, CD34. Mononuclear cell count. 0 times 10/kg body weight, 2.0 times 10/. Single nuclear cell count. Your cells also reaches a relatively high level. Also be able to successfully complete autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. Stem cell collection have not been very successful. The ideal state of our life. Give him an autologous transplant opportunity. Transplant again. Evidence-based medicine. Especially myeloma. That can clearly benefit patients. In multiple myeloma. So there are more opportunities for secondary transplantation, including Hodgkin's lymphoma, or studies at other centers.
Clearly superior to a single transplant. Transplantation in lymphoma and myeloma? Majority of our secondary transplants. Second transplant and have leukemia, as well as other types of diseases.
From this data, we see over 5,000 autologous cases 5000. Only about 100 had a second transplant.
100. And confirmed during clinical proceedings.
Provided their conditions allow, including stem cell conditions, physical conditions, and funding conditions.
In secondary transplantation in the future. Mortality. It means seeing just how safe autologous transplantation really is.
These more than 5,000 patients, 5,000, occurred within 100 days.
46,100. Reports, transplant-related mortality rates.
Rate can be as high as 3% to 5%, 3% 5%. Already reached a very safe level.
The rate is less than 1%. 1%.
Method of saving autologous stem cells by combining high-dose chemotherapy with autologous stem cell transplantation.
Effective method.
Relatively small and not very large hospitals.
Plantation or
very severe and the risks are high. And observe the work through the collaboration and exchange in the working groups. Or grassroots hospitals.
Evaluation of autologous transplantation for lymphoma and multiple myeloma.
The statistics of our recent autologous transplants. Burden of lymphoma and myeloma in 2019 in China, which comes from CDC data. In 2019 in China is around 9,400 newly diagnosed cases. Cases of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, 92,000. 1,000 cases.
10.
Liu Yiping also demonstrated to everyone.
Big data related to lymphoma. The incidence of lymphoma was over 70,000 in previous years,
7,000, so our trend of lymphoma incidence is on the rise.
10.
Hodgkin lymphoma occurs between the ages of 65 and 69, 65-69.
The ages of 90 and 94. 9,094.
94 has very few people living. The incidence rate increases. National statistics. Lymphoma peaks when individuals are 65 to 69 years old.
Of cases of Hodgkin lymphoma. 760 cases. So among older individuals. Hodgkin lymphoma.
The new incidence rate for 2019 was
90 cases. With lymphoma.
Between the ages of 65 and 69, 65-69. Levels also occurs during the older age.
75 and 79. 7,579.
Incidence rate of 100,000 cases, 10.
On autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplants. Rate. To the number of patients who undergo autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation.
The number of cases.
lymphoma is only 2.4%, according to Professor Lu Weiping's report this morning. 2.4%. Higher, at 11.3%, 11.3%.
Transplant patients we received reached 52 years.
52 includes children's. 473.
1.3 to 1, with a slightly higher proportion of men, 1.31. Influence the acceptance of the transplant.
First-line transplants. 4,000. First-line chemotherapy, as a first-line transplant done after recurrence or second-line therapy, accounts for 14.4%.
This chart has already been shown earlier.
Eastern regions. Males are older than females across all ages.
55 to 59 years old. Autologous transplants, as I mentioned earlier, there are several reasons who develop the disease and
including their health status. We will examine these results in detail.
Disease, across all age groups aged 20 to 65, 2065. Cases,
100.
Exceed 100 cases in the 40 to 70-year-old age group, 407, 0100. 50 to 54, the peak reached 1,436 cases, 5054146.
Cases of multiple myeloma. 570. It's very low among those under 10 and over 65. 1065.
The number of those who may not be suitable for transplantation is relatively small.
Group between 20 and 50. 20-50.
Then by the age of 40 to 44, it reaches 6.5%.
5% 4044 6.5%. Patients, 100.
Patients receive autologous sclerocyte transplants.
6.5. Also occurs between the ages of 45 and 50 45-50. Are likely to receive transplants.
2.4% nationwide.
2.4%.
Relatively low.
Underwent autologous sclerocyte transplantation. 24.
Of transplants, Beijing, Tianjin, and Chongqing have relatively high transplant rates.
In these areas, relatively many are able to undergo autologous transplantation. Heilongjiang and Inner Mongolia. Hospitals that can also perform transplants. Locally, once the topic of transplantation is mentioned.
Risky treatments.
Tianjin, Shanghai. Transplantation is performed in these places in Guangzhou.
And the work of our autologous transplantation working group. Return to their local areas, which not only enables local hospitals to develop their own facilities more widespread, and it also helps reduce the inconvenience of patients traveling across the country.
Transplant data from lymphoma from 211 centers, 211.
143 cases have been exposed to a single transplant.
2,443. This is a pre-treatment plan.
That the wall mother solution and the wall shell solution still hold an absolute advantage.
Options for traditional pre-treatment solutions.
Because among the cases we report at various centers, for different purposes. Tumor efficacy and increasing transplant success rates. And adjust pre-processing plans for specific tumor types. This is where different other pre-processing schemes were tried. Are still relatively small. Transplants. BIM and BIC can be analyzed. If there are any other advantages on the CECTI scheme. Used in the central nervous system. Lymphoma of the central nervous system pre-processing schemes. Scheme. Used in lymphoblastic lymphoma and NKT cell lymphoma. TBI-NKT. Are trying to get started. Revealed, then in the future, we will also use big data statistics. Do we have the possibility of promotion? Statistics, but whether this effect ultimately has an advantage is in case numbers to confirm this. Myeloma is clearly higher than for lymphoma. 3%. 11.3%. Full pre-processing solution used. Multi-basket. 2 transplants for multiple myeloma. Over conventional chemotherapy. New drugs, such as small molecule drugs. Emerge as to whether these drugs can rival autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation in efficacy. Offer multiple myeloma treatment. Analysis. Conduct further analysis. Especially evident in major cities and medical centers like Beijing, Tianjin, and Shanghai. Much higher. Analysis, we should refer to the experiences of more experienced centers to provide guidance to other centers. Transplants for the first time, the pre-treatment regimen is mostly based on the elixir mefalin, but there are also attempts to combine it with pentozomi and bendamustine, as well as other drug combinations. Recognize Danyamafrin's own pre-treatment plan because it is relatively simple to use, has fewer side effects, and offers more opportunities for secondary transplantation. Aiming to further improve efficacy and extend disease-free survival, but the number of cases remains relatively low. Analysis in the future to see if we can draw any conclusions. Introduction. Below is the support we receive from these more than 200 centers. But thank you all so much for your support of this work. I especially want to thank Professor Lu Weiping. Contributions in case collection and organization analysis. Ma Jun and Professor Zhu Jun, for their efforts in connecting various centers during our collection process. Help and support. Involved in this work, including the directors and participants. Great gratitude to everyone. A. Of in-body acoustic cavitation therapy encapsulation bags in China. Biological data. Information to everyone. That so much work has been accomplished in such a short period of time. The working group. Professor Bai Hai. Let me introduce it. My senior, a very good friend. Oncology expert in China, especially in the field of hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. Contributions. Also a recipient of the State Council's special allowance. 40 Hospital is the Lanzhou Military Region General Hospital of our entire army. 940 using now, and many people may also have academic prefixes. Professor Bai Hai. Here for the introduction. Wang Xiaopei for sharing big data. Transplantation has been very successful in China over the past few years. Units are being created, and it shows so many units at the end. It has been done on stream 08 until now, 08. Treatment. But he was doing very well. It was originally called Lanzhou Military General Hospital. Autologous transplantation in 1983. His transplants were still relatively few. May also be able to provide information about the relatively underdeveloped areas of our Northwest. Prefecture-level units, including Wuwei General Flow Hospital and the affiliated hospital of Qinghai Medical University, in carrying out autologous transplantation work. King is small, sometimes. Fei just said that after their work began, their work was actually quite good. Hospital, our solution is. The treatment plan was generally TDR, but we always increased it to 1 TDR. 08 TDR. They're actually quite good. It truly is a way for patients to survive long-term. Patients to receive effective treatment and improve efficacy. Autologous transplant statistics, Professor Wang's first. Such a good summary, which is quite good. Extremely useful. It is actually very important. The opportunity to visit our Northwest in the future. Pass on your message to us. Treasures. There's Ma Jun and Zhu Jun for their invitation to participate in this conference's study. Xiaopei, and also to Professor Hu Liangbing and Professor Zhang Wei for hosting. Thank you, Director Bai. Professor Xiaofei, and thank you to Professor Bai Hai for your wonderful comments. For explaining to Professor Bai Hai. Our working group has released this kind of data. Encouraging. Precise, and many organizations may not have reported this data. Out of our own. Including different treatment options, and so on. Number of baby package transfers ourselves. Reaching the amount we should be doing. Or it could be later. Those over 65 years old, 65. Package transplantation is relatively rare. A routine task. Myeloma, because Professor Xiaopei talked about safety. Very high. And various transplant techniques. Developed. Autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplant. For expansion in diseases like lymphoma and multiple myeloma. Xiaopei for his presentation, and also thank Professor Bai Hai for his excellent comments. By Professor Ren Haiyun and Professor Jiang Zhongxing. Known in China. Afternoon. Ding for hosting the previous section on autologous stem cell transplantation. With Professor Jiang Zhongxing from the First Affiliated Hospital of Zhengzhou University. Today's speaker, Professor Wang Chun.
Currently the director of the medical department at Shanghai New Hongqiao Hospital of Gobo Medical Group.
At Shanghai First People's Hospital, among others.
And Shanghai municipal titles. In liquid crystal hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. Topic of liquid crystal hematopoietic stem cell transplantation therapy. T-cell lymphoma. T. Sir Wang Chun for the invitation and Professor Run for the enthusiastic introduction.
Autologous transplantation, but it was later changed to refractory peripheral T-cell lymphoma.
T.